Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of It's Our House Pod with Faz and Deez. I'm Faz, and he is Deez. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, really good, mate. Apart from Liverpool letting me down today. Other than that, I'm great.
Yeah,
how are you?
Not just you. They let me down. They're my club. They let you down for money. They let me down just because I exist. But before we proceed to our fantastic guests, let's have a shout out to our sponsors. Hey, Deez, you know what you don't get enough of these days? You know, like pins, but in wrestling form.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Actually, I know of a place. Wrestlingpins.bigcartel.com. Have you heard of them?
Wrestlingpins.bigcartel.com.
Wrestlingpins.bigcartel.com. Funnily enough, you should mention it because they've got awesome pins like, I don't know if you can see that, The Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior, and the man himself, Hulk Hogan. They do mugs, they do stickers, they do everything, mate. Really high quality. You know, like really affordable, really high quality. Like you say, you don't get stuff like that very often anymore.
No, you don't, do you? And is that the one where you put the promo code IOHPod15 and you get 15% off your order?
I believe it is. That's basically free postage and packing.
Yeah, IOHPod15 for 15% off your order. And I've heard that goes with all of the discounts and stuff they've got on at the same time.
Yeah, and they, as far as I know, they're regularly doing sales, new pins, like pretty much every week. They do giveaways, they do competitions, they do games on their social media, stuff like that.
That's brilliant. So head on over to wrestlingpins.bigcartel.com. That's wrestlingpins.bigcartel.com. Welcome back. So today we've got a celebrity tattooist. He's literally changed the game in terms of what he does, his designs, everything. He's an absolute legend in the field. It's Mr. Kevin Paul. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, thanks.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really, really appreciate it, especially on a Sunday night. So what we want to do, we're starting a new thing with every kind of guest we have on, which is kind of an icebreaker, just so you can settle in and we can have a bit of a chat. Obviously, we've tailored this to you. So if you could tattoo anyone, any celebrity, past or present, even, died, who would it be and what tattoo would you do?
To be honest, I get asked this question like every day. It's a common thing. Not particularly bothered by tattooing anyone, but if I could have the relationship I have with some celebrities like of modern today, with anybody, and have that kind of like link to someone, I'd say John Lennon was definitely a massive inspiration to me. I love John Lennon. I love what he's about. I'd love to be able to know him like I know Ed Sheeran or Harry Styles or someone like that. Do you know what I mean? I have that bond with him.
Yeah.
I'd say George Michael as well was a big inspiration to me. Like, I love his music. I love what he's about. I was actually in a building with George Michael once, and desperately kept going for a pee, trying to come out and like see him, but I never got to see him, unfortunately. But maybe the two. As for what they had, I'm not really that bothered, to be honest.
It's whatever they want, really, isn't it? Two class names there. I mean, John Lennon, obviously, I'm from Liverpool, my neck of the woods, so a great choice. Great choice.
Yeah, solid shouts. Yeah, John Lennon would be amazing. Right, so yeah, as Fad said, we tried to tailor this to you a bit more because it's sort of like bit of an unusual one for us. We've always pretty much done pro wrestling, entertainment, that kind of stuff. So this is uncharted territory for us. So let's get into obviously what you do. You're a professional tattooist, an incredible one. But when did you start tattooing? What was sort of your background, and what was your main reason behind getting into being a tattooist?
I first tattooed when I was 13. Wow. My brother was a bit of a wrong one when he was young, should we say, and he'd been to prison, he'd been to like children's homes and stuff like that, and I was like 10 years younger than him, so like when he was like in his 20s, I was kind of just going into like kind of a teen thing. And I remember him telling me about tattoos he had in prison with a Scalextric motor wired to a pen in a and then I had to go at building one, and I had to go. And it after that, it was like, this is what I want to do. It was, this was like early 90s. It was like 92, 93 kind of time. So tattooing isn't what it is now. Then it was a very underground thing. People weren't getting tattoos. You know what I mean? I tattooed myself at 13. So I was the only kid in the school that had tattoos. It was, I think my inspiration, I've always been an artist. I've loved art. And I think to put it in the skin was always really fascinated me.
Yeah.
To see bold, bright colours and imagery there. And it's like each single person travels the world and has their life, and they're taking your art with them.
Yeah.
On permanent show. And it's the ultimate place to put art, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, let me put this in the right way. When you first started drawing, what was it that actually, you know, that was your inspiration? Like, I'm not talking about tattooing, but drawing in general.
Yeah, I think from the very beginning, like, as I think back, I think it was more Japanese art that I really was drawn to. But then I'd buy a lot of magazines, and there weren't really tattoo magazines back then. It was more biker magazines and things like that. And then there was one called Skin Deep that come out, and that was like the only one you could get. But every time I'd look through, I'd like things, but I always kind of got drawn to this kind of dark art, like the evil, the horror, that kind of thing. And there was things that I seen. There was this picture once of it was this man, like a cartoon picture of a man with his arms ripped off, wearing bunny slippers, and this giant fly ripped him apart. I thought it was really cool. And then there was other things that I'd seen in the magazines, and every time I'd seen these things, I never quite clicked it was the same artist that did it. And then a couple of years later, I kind of seen this profile on this artist from America called Paul Booth. And I kind of loved what he did. And it was like, when I went through all his portfolio stuff, it was the things that I've liked over the years when I first got into it were his. Do you know what I mean? So he was definitely an inspiration to me from a young age, like with the dark art. And although I not really known for it anymore, but like dark arts and horror tattoos and things like that was my thing. I still love it now, but when you tattoo pop stars, you don't get to do dark horror.
Just is that the reason why it's Kevin Paul?
No, it's just my name.
Oh, yeah. I just thought that might be a reason to have it, but as an inspiration.
No, it just kind of fell that we had the same.
Fits well.
Yeah.
Were you naturally just good at art as a kid then, or was it just
like
practice?
It was the only thing I was good at. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm a social fuck up, like with school and everything. Like I'm dyslexic. I hated school. I didn't really have a very good upbringing, like family bringing. Like I hated school, and the only thing I liked doing was drawing. So like one of the things that the school would say, like if you stayed in school and stopped going, we'll let you just do art. You can just do the art lessons and you help the art teacher and stuff. So I did that for a bit, but then I just got bored with that, and then I just kind of screwed school up, to be honest.
Fair play though. I mean, a lot of time the schools, they just say either go away or just don't come back. But at least they give you the chance.
Yeah, if you look at my school reports, it said I was a waste of space. I'd never. He's an idiot. He wastes his time doing stupid pictures when he could have been doing proper work. They literally say that. Do you know what I mean? In my school reports. So yeah, and then I tattooed a kid, one of the scummy kids in class. I did a little cross on his finger, and his mum complained, and I got kicked out of school for it. So that was when I was 15, I think. I was 14 or 15 that happened.
Wow, what a journey you've been on since. So could you tell us a bit about your own personal tattoo style? I look at your Instagram, shows you do a bit of everything really, but what do you love to tattoo the most?
Like I said, it's my heart belongs to horror. Like I love horror. I love demonic. I love being able to create these 3D dark imagery that makes people think. Like everything I do art-wise, whether it be photography, tattoo, even my writing, my script writing, I like to have that dark thing. I like to really provoke viewer. Do you know what I mean? What they do. And probably go back, say 14 years ago, I was the king at doing. There's an artist called H.R. Geiger who did the Alien. And his stuff is amazing. His artwork is, and I used to replicate that amazingly. And I used to have people from all over Europe that come to me just to have H.R. Geiger style work by me. I've won awards. I've done loads of things. Everything I was doing was horror on a daily basis. And then I started doing a lot of rock bands. So I did like Cradle of Filth and Amon Amarth and people like that, like proper metalhead bands. And I was the king of it, pretty much, really, in the UK, I'd say, for doing that kind of stuff. But then pop stars come along, and then you get rich Essex lads that want to brag they've been tattooed by Ed Sheeran's mate. So I kind of filtered that market out. Like it was really weird. Like when you look back on it now, like it was 10 years ago I started doing this stuff. So I kind of destroyed what I was great at to get a better, bigger reputation worldwide. Do you know what I mean? But it's really weird what I did. It's kind of, I tried to pursue something to make it bigger, but it eliminated what I was loved and what I was great.
Yeah, it's I think, I mean, you're going to be way too expensive for me, but if this YouTube thing kicks off, I'll be down there to get a demonic tattoo.
Right, so you mentioned pop stars and how like that wasn't really your scene, but then they just started flocking to you. So I was wondering, who's the worst person that you've tattooed? Have you had any real like hassle or aggro off certain celebrities, like cocky, arrogant celebrities? But also, like, what was it like working with them and working with millionaires and billionaires? Because I imagine you've seen some pretty mad shit in your time.
I've had like literally from all levels. I mean, I have young artists that come to me, young tattooists, and they say, "I want to be like you. I want to do what you do." And it's like, mate, you don't understand what it took to be me. Do you know what I mean? It's like I set out a goal, say 10 years ago, probably, to tattoo a couple of celebs. My idea 10 years ago was tattoo 2 or 3 celebrities, and then I can charge loads of money, and everyone will know who I am, and the papers will put little bits about me, and that will promote me, and then I can sit on my arse all day tattooing people, and people pay me loads of money. That was the goal, right? 10 years ago when I set out to do it. But then I achieved it. Like within 8 months, I got my first celebrity, which was Rizzle Kicks, and they were really nice lads and stuff. And then they linked me to someone else, and then I got linked to the X Factor, and then I met one of the bosses on the X Factor. He said, "Come back to my house." I went to his, met him. He wanted me to tattoo him. I tattooed him, and he says, "What are you trying to do?" And I said, "I just want to tattoo a couple of famous people so I could charge more and build my thing back up, basically." And he went, "Well, I can give you this, that, and that." And he introduced me to like agents and media teams and all that kind of stuff. And I did like loads of media training and everything. I spent about 2 years down there, and I met a lot of people. But as I was doing it with him, there were links that I'd created with other people as well that was working. So, I mean, I did like the Mobile War Tour, and it was all these like little gangster black lads wanting to be rappers and all this kind of stuff. And they were the most ignorant arseholes you could ever meet. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but I kept my mouth shut. I did it. And 90% of them are back in the council house with a mum now with no career at all. But I kept my mouth shut and I worked hard and I was there to help them and I did loads of things with them. And there was a lot. Do you know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of good and a lot of bads. I mean, I tattooed someone on the X Factor who was a winner. I can't legally say who it is.
I think I know who it is. I'm sure I read about this.
Everyone pretty much will know who it is, but it's like, legally, I'm not allowed to say. So I tattooed them as soon as they won. I was with them for about the first 8 months of their career. I helped them a lot. I helped build them up. I got them over anxiety issues, loads of things that like get them away from drugs, all that kind of stuff. And we had quite a good bond together, and I did quite a lot with them. And then we kind of like parted ways and kind of like faded out. And then I'd say about 2 years later, I was talking to Ed Sheeran as it happened, and he was talking about this artist, and he was mentioning about their logo, and he said it looked like something that I did for him. And I don't know why I did it, but like when I was on my way back from London on the train, I thought I'll just have a look at their website. I look at the website, and their logo was artwork that I created for him as a tattoo, which legally is mine.
Right.
It's not theirs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I DM'd him and said, "What you doing? Like, you can't do this." And then he blocked me about an hour later. So I contacted the manager, who I also knew very well and worked with. They then said, "I'm not the manager. I just work for the company that does manage them," which is a load of bollocks. Like, it was their manager. And then I spoke to them, but he said, "I'll let you know." 2 days later, I messaged him saying what's going on, and it says, "You need to get talk to our solicitors." Do you know what I mean? It took a sour turn.
Straight away.
I've done so much. Basically, long story short, like I ended up with about 30 grand bill, legal bill to take them to court. But they basically fucked up because they threatened me in text messages. If they ever see me again, they do this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. So I sent it to the manager and says, "You've got 24 hours to sort this, otherwise this goes out." Which is not like me. I don't like doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they kind of pinned me in a corner. So yeah, they settled out of court. So there is that one that's a twat. Other than that, most of them are all right. Like Jamie Lang from Made in Chelsea, he's a bit of a knob, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
He's, I tattooed him. I did what is it on the inside of his arm? Peter Pan. So I did a Pete Pan thing. He asked me to do his Pete Pan thing, and I says, I don't do that. It looks shit. It looks crap. And I says, he kept going on and on and on about it. So we left it about 2 months. I said, if you still want it done next time I'm down, then I'll do it. So we did it. And he went and filmed Made in Chelsea that afternoon. And then was slagging it off on set, apparently.
Wow.
It was really shit, this, that, and the other. So I messaged him and said, look, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't slag this off. The papers knew that I did it, and it was all over the papers. I said, so you're basically slagging me off. He said, oh, mate, it's just jokes for Channel 4. They want us to, it's just jokes. I said, it's not fucking jokes. It goes against me.
Exactly.
Stop saying it. Well, nothing really happened with it. So basically, he kept going on. He went on Radio 1, and he was slagging it off there. And he says, oh, the artist that did it is actually really bad. And I heard it on Radio 1. I thought, right, you cunt. The next day, I was doing an interview in Now magazine. And then at the end of the interview, they said, is there anything else you want to ask? I said, you can ask me what it's like to work with the Made in Chelsea lads if you want. And they asked me, and I said, they went through the names. And they said, what do you think of Jamie Lang? I said, he's a spoilt wanker who was born with a silver spoon shoved too far up his arse, was what I said. And this was like years ago, like 2014. But like, my management back then was saying, get involved with arguments, argue, bitch, and do something. That's what sells papers. And I'm witted when I have to be. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I kind of give as good as I got back then. I'm just not like that anymore. Like, I don't do it anymore. Like, I'm all about peace and love and being positive. Not. That's why I don't publicize myself in the media as much anymore. I try and pull away from it.
Yeah,
I don't like it. It's all about being negative and creating negative stories and falling out and stuff. And it's not what the real world's about, and that's not what public need to see.
No, we're hoping that one day Dees can become a good guy, aren't you?
I'm trying, but I ain't promising anything. Controversy makes cash, doesn't it?
Yeah. We're at the bottom at the moment, so yeah, we need to be more controversial.
We've got to be assholes.
So, 8 years ago, you helped to bring about the Tattoo Regulations of 2013 Act, which helped to protect people from untrained tattooists, giving them potentially harmful infections from bad practices. What inspired you to do it? Did you have any experience of this happening to you or your clients?
Yeah, I mean, it's like years ago, like when I got into tattooing, the only way to tattoo was to do it at home. To buy dodgy equipment and do it. And it's like, it's totally it's like people will say, well, it's like you saying this, but then you've done it that way. It's like, yeah, I did it that way in the early 90s, but there's no options. There was no other ways of doing it. Like, I had to build my own machines out of a scale electric motor and a pen. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't buy stuff. Now you go on Amazon and you can buy a kit for 25 quid or on eBay for 20 quid. Do you know what I mean? And it's wrong. You're getting kids now that are buying kits and having to go at it because of all the crap TV shows that are out.
Exactly.
It's publicizing it in a wrong light. It's not for artists anymore. It's for anyone who wants to make quick money or to look cool.
Yeah.
So the reason I kind of did it was like back then I was kind of really big kind of thing, like in the public media. Like I was in the paper for anything, like some stupid little thing or walking down the street with a celebrity and I'd be in a paper for it. And I just thought it's ridiculous. Like the shit they put me in the papers for is nonsense. It's all crap. And it's like the tattoo industry was struggling and anyone was doing all these dodgy things and infecting people and that. And I kind of said to this agent that I had, I was like, we could change laws like in Parliament. And she went, oh, don't waste time with that. Well, let's just slag another celebrity off and let's get you in the paper again. It was like, no, like, let's just do some media that's good media. Do you know what I mean? Let's do something. And I spoke to a lot of tattooists and said, I'm going to like take on Parliament and change laws to tighten things up. Because basically, every local council has its own environmental health bit that look after tattooists. So back then, what would happen is if they know about dodgy people tattooing kids or whatever, they'd go around the house, they'd basically tell them fuck off, and then they'd then have to go to court to try get a summons to get into the house to take the stuff off and then press charges. But when it goes to the courts don't care about it. No. They think, oh, we don't bother about the riffraff, and then chuck it out of court. So it goes round in circles and no one gets anywhere. So what I basically did was I went to meet the head of environmental health in London at the headquarters there, and they literally says like what was going on with it. And they literally told me to fuck off. They're not interested. So then I went back to all the celebs, like people like Ed Sheeran tweeted it, and I think James Arthur tweeted it. There was loads of them that tweeted it. So basically I thought, fuck you, I'm not taking a no. So I've created this campaign, put it all together, text loads of celebs and says, tweet this tweet I'm just about to put out. They all tweeted it. 2 days later, all the newspapers are phoning me saying, "Can we do an interview with you?" Good Morning Britain had me on like within a week. Do you know what I mean? So he just went wild really quickly. And then the government basically got me back and said, "Actually, we'll have a chat with you." So they went and had a chat with me. This is what do you want? And then they kind of did this shit booklet of guidelines, and then they kind of changed the law so local councils have more power to enter houses.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you were doing dodgy tattoos in a house and they knew about it now, they can legally come in your house, compensate, take all the shit off you, and press charges against you. So that's pretty much down to me.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
I did that in 3 months. Like, we
wow,
managed to do in 3 months.
That's insane. I mean, as you said before, I mean, there's so many agents and celebrities, pushing you to go down a dark path. The fact that you chose the light says a lot about you, mate. Says a lot about
every
you.
Single person was saying, "You can't do this. You can't do it." I talked to big name tattooists in the UK, like well-known people, and I'd say, "I'm going to change laws," and they're like, "You're never going to do that. You're never going to get that done." And it's like, I did it. But it's like they turned on me as well. They turned on me saying, "Oh, you just have to fame." It's like, I'm not after fame. It's my fame that's got this through.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not after fame for this. It's my fame that has made it happen. Do you know what I mean? I've done it to make the industry better because it's my industry. Do you know what I mean? It's an industry I'm part of. But people just don't like see you doing well, do you? So
no,
I was getting it from every angle with that. I don't think I got praise from anyone for doing it.
That's insane. It's like Rashford, isn't it? It's exactly like Rashford. What is it? It takes one celebrity to stand up and say, "This is enough's enough," in order to challenge. So fair play to you.
Am I right in thinking that, like, to open a parlour, you literally just need like a shop space, isn't it? Like wipeable surfaces, and to get yourself an autoclave.
You need wipeable floors. You need 2 running sinks with hot water.
That's it.
That's pretty much it. Like, you have to have, like, say if you're gonna get a proper shop front, then you're supposed to have like change of use. But I mean, a lot of people don't even do it. There's ways around even doing that. Nothing about opening a shop or getting licensed is about your skill, your ability, your experience. It's all about whether you've got clean floors and hot water. That's what it is.
That's insane, isn't it? I mean, every single tattoo artist, as you said, needs to have some form of certification.
Yeah.
In order
I think they should be able to prove to the council that they can physically do a good tattoo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like a portfolio, something like they have to submit through government.
Yeah. Bizarre. Right, so I know we touched on it the bad experiences you've had with certain celebrities and the dickheads that you've spoken to, but were there actually any tattoos or celebrities that you regretted working with? Like, were there any tattoos that you didn't want to do? I remember seeing that you had something to do with Rihanna, didn't you? You weren't happy doing something for Rihanna?
Yeah, so basically it was kind of weird. When I come out of government, I come out of Parliament. As I walked out, I got a phone call from Rihanna's people saying, "Do you want to come and hang out?" So I went, "Yeah, go on then."
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
She was in London, so I thought, "Yeah, I can come down later." And she said, "Oh, it's brilliant." I said, "Send me the address where you want me to meet you, and then we'll come." And it was Manchester at the arena. And she says, "Oh, she'll be at the arena for so and so." So I thought, "Oh, okay." So I was in London at the time, so then I had to like rush back to Derby, get changed, sort myself out, and then shoot straight up to there. And I spent like a couple of days up there with her. But it was like, I weren't there for tattooing really. Like, she asked me about a tattoo on her hand, or that mandala thing. She wanted to cover some crap thing she had. And I said, it's not going to work. It definitely won't be something that I'd do, because it just won't cover it.
Yeah.
So she went and had it done somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? But
I just can't imagine just sitting there and you get a phone call off Rihanna.
Back then, it was like a daily thing. It was like, it went from, I'm going to tattoo a couple of celebs, and then I was chasing like 2 or 3. And by the time I did Rihanna, I'd probably done 25, 30. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
But like, at that point, I was in the papers like most weeks, and I'd probably have 15 celebrities messaging me saying, I want in, something, I want to do this. And it was like, you was having to juggle like the amount of people you was doing and then do them. It was just ridiculous. Like, so some of them I was doing, and we just kind of did it, and I forgot about it because I went straight off and did something else straight after. That I forgot to even put anything out about it or to mark that we'd done it. Yeah, we had a couple of years where it was just fucking mental. Like, every day I was coming home, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna go meet the Hoff later, or I'm gonna go meet Mini-Me later, or I'm off with Ed Sheeran later, or One Direction have just phoned. I mean, it was just like, my missus kind of just got bored of hearing it. It was just like, it just got a little bit mad. for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling one of my mates that you were coming on. And he's a huge fan of your work, and like we've had, like Eric Bischoff, some massive names in the wrestling industry. But as soon as we mentioned you, he said, "Fuck off, you're not having him on." Oh, he's amazing. So I mean, obviously your work precedes you, my friend. It does. Going back, obviously talking about celebrities and things. Was there any truth to the rumors of you being approached for Celebrity Big Brother? And if so, why didn't you go?
I got approached for it 5 years on the road.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, like with Big Brother, it's not a popularity contest; it's a hate contest.
Yeah.
And it's the one who's hated the least, and that's what people don't get. People think they get on there and get all this fame and stuff, and it's like I turned it down because I've had an autobiography out, and it's like about everything I've been through. And the reason I did that book was because I was being offered a lot of TV shows, and it's like I come from a really bad upbringing, like a stepdad that was really abusive. I ended up selling drugs and got involved with crime and car theft and all that kind of stuff. So from the age of, say, like 14, 15 up to 80, I mean, I got kidnapped when I was 17 by drug dealers and locked in a flat. Do you know what I mean? So although I've done really well and changed my life around, my early life was quite bad. And there's certain newspapers that are very bad for pushing people to get a better story. And I've seen it firsthand. So I know for the fact that half the people I used to know that are on benefits or drug addicts and all that kind of shit still, do you know what I mean? It's like they'd probably tell them a story about me when I was 17 selling drugs or whatever, but then they'd say, well, if you ever carried a knife or a gun or anything like that, we can make it $5 grand. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Even though it's true, who's going to say no? Like, they're going to make some story up. So while I'm in the Big Brother house, like doing all this stupid crap, I know facts from the outside. Every newspaper is trying to find every scrote I used to knock around with, trying to find the worst stories they could find or make stories up to make me look as bad as possible. And then it's just like, I didn't really want to do that. It's like, I told them I'm a stupid figure. And I said, like, for this, I'll do it. I think it's like 200 grand. I said, for 200 grand, I'll do it. Because that, for me, was worthwhile, the shit that could have happened if I'd gone in. Do you know what I mean? It could have destroyed my career. Because people believe the shit that's in the paper, whether it's true or not.
Exactly.
This was the reason I did the book, was to basically tell the facts. But to be honest, like doing it, I think it was the best thing I ever did. Because I find more people related to me, knowing I've come from the same bad past they've come from,
100%,
with no education and that kind of thing. I found my fan base, it grew like really quickly after that. So, but yeah, I would have done it though. I know what they're like. They were basically to rip you apart. I could see it in their eyes when I went for the meetings. They were vultures and they were ready to tear me apart.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to let them do that unless I was getting paid a ridiculous
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, kids on the outside, they're going to get hammered every day. They're going to get the press at them. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's many a times where the press have been at my shop when I've been there in the mornings like vultures waiting for it. And it's like, if I'm not here to defend myself, it's kind of hard, isn't it? So that's the only reason I turned it down. I'd love to do more reality stuff like TV. I'd love people to see who I really am.
Yeah.
I'm not that twat you read about in the papers. I'm not that guy that falls out with everyone and that. I'm a life coach. When I help people, I turn people's lives around. I do a lot of positive things. And the message that I tell people is what I think British public need to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To help, it would help a lot of people, but it's just got to be the right thing for me to do it.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, the fact that you've come on our pod says a lot about you. The two questions before we proceed. Can you plug your book? Because obviously our listeners would love to hear it. And also, we can't skip over the getting kidnapped at 17 story. I'm sorry, you can't.
Yeah, crazy.
Crazy. Like, my whole life, I've always wanted to be the bigger and the best at everything. Whatever I do, I want to be the biggest and the best at it. And it's not an arrogant thing. It's just the way I'm wired. I have to be the best at what I do. So at 15, 16, when I wanted to be a gangster and hang around with drug dealers and all that kind of shit, I thought I was cool. I was 16 and hanging around with lads that were 25, 30, driving around in RS Cosworths. And you know what I mean? I was earning like that, about 1,500, $2,000 a week, like doing little jobs for them and stuff like that. Like, I thought I was the fucking man. But I was doing that to provide for my mum. My mum was in a horrible relationship. I got her out of that relationship, and then she was struggling. So I kind of stepped up and thought, I'll do this to give money. And I'd slip money into a purse and into the bottom of a bag, never telling her where it really come from. But she must have had an idea. So I'd always been providing for her. So that was always my goal, was to provide for my mum to make sure she was okay. But I basically got too big for my boots, and we kept crossing people. And this little runner that I had, who was running stuff for us, and this lad grabbed hold of him one night, dragged him in the car, and took a gun in his face, and says like, "You need to fuck off, or this is what's gonna happen." He come back, he was crying, he was right wreck, and I just thought it was really funny. Like I thought we're making headway here, like we're actually intimidating these people. And then I think it was about a week later, two guys broke into this flat, locked the door behind them where we were staying, and it was the worst thing. Like my whole body went cold. I thought I was going to die that night. I really did. Like one had a big bat in his hand and one had a knife, and I thought I was going to die. And then like that next day, I stopped everything. I just totally I walked away from the lads I was knocking around with and the people I was around. Within like 2 weeks later, I kind of got rid of anxiety. I was at a job centre, and I just had this really panicky feeling, and I had to get out. And then I went home because I stayed living with my mum then, and I just got worse and worse. And it was like I ended up really housebound for over a year with anxiety really badly from what happened. I felt suicidal at points in that year. It was the lowest of the low. Like if I could have pushed the button and turned my life off, I would. Because it was like when you've lost sanity in here in your head with anxiety, it's a horrible thing. And it's like in the 90s, no one knew what anxiety was. There was no one talking about it. No one understood it. Everyone thought I was having a nervous breakdown and I was losing my marbles for taking drugs. And I think it was down to the drugs partly. Like cannabis is the worst thing for anxiety, but people smoke it thinking it cures it, and it doesn't. It creates the problem. It's the massive thing. I mean, so I say from the age of like, I think I was like nearly turning 18, I stopped everything. I stopped drink, smoke, drugs, everything. Like I didn't do anything. And then that next year was like a really bad year. But then I kind of slowly started to build a life back up.
That's amazing, mate. That's absolutely fantastic. So what's the name of your book again?
It come out in like 2013. So it was called A Sketchy Life. I'm going to bring another one out. Because basically I am dyslexic, and like reading and writing to me is the fucking worst thing. Like, I hate it. I've never read a book in my life. And then said about writing a book, I was like, no, I'm going to do it myself. So I wrote the whole book myself.
Oh, amazing, mate.
Oh, wow.
It then got tweaked. But it comes third in the People's Book Prize.
Oh, fantastic.
And it did really well. It like sold more in America than it did anywhere in the world. It had fan bases everywhere. It was really mad how it went. But then I kind of realized, like, I'm actually good at writing. Do you know what I mean? Then when I was doing the press for it, because I did that quite straight-laced. The book was quite straight-lacedly done. And I cut a lot of the gangster bits and bobs from my youth out. So I didn't think anyone would be interested in it. And then when I did all the press, there was like 30 people from the media in a room. And they were saying, tell us about when you sold this car, when you did this. And I tell them things about what a loser I was at school and like trying to lose my virginity and like all that kind of shit, like what a fuck up I were. And they'd laugh. And then everyone was laughing. And then they'd start trying to ask me serious questions. And they'd break down laughing like they couldn't ask me it. Because all they had this vision of is this shit that I just told them. And I was with a mate of mine called Drew for Midnight Beat, a TV show called Midnight Beat. And I said to him, I said, I could write a book, just about being a teenager, but with a bit of humor to it, like being really crude and really common. So I started to write it. And I showed it to an actor friend of mine called Paddy Considine. And he said, this is really good, mate. Write some more. So I wrote about 4 chapters of it. I showed him it and he went, this is brilliant. He said, the way you wrote it, it comes across like a sitcom. He said, I could visualize this. It's like really good. So I said, I don't know how to write a sitcom. He says, come down to me. He was working in London at the time. I went down to meet him and he showed me how to write a script, basically. And then took me through everything, how to put it all together, how you create a film. And it was really good. So like I went home and I kind of wrote it. So I kind of wrote it as a TV show. I kind of wrote my teenage life. Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible.
Can I just want to touch on you briefly mentioned it there about working as a life coach. I think I saw you've worked with people in prison, haven't you? Prison inmates. What's that been like?
Yeah. So thing is, like, I think my life coaching, I don't have a certificate saying I'm a life coach. I mean, I find it a load of bollocks that you can do a course and 6 months and say you're a life coach. You know what I mean? It's like to be a life coach, you've got to achieve great things in life and you've got to come through bad things. That to me is a life coach. I wouldn't listen to someone that's got a certificate on his wall who lives in his little 2-bedroom flat on benefits. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you're no inspiration to anyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been through a lot. And then obviously there's quite a lot of the celebrities I've worked with where I have dealt with their drug problems, like A-list. I mean, I've worked with A-list who've had drug problems, and I've been there for them on a daily basis for months, helping them. And because I'm known as the celebrity tattooist, no one ever batted an eyelid that I was actually there for something else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've worked with a lot of big people, but it was never really meant to be a thing. I was just there to help. There wasn't a label on it. And then over the years, it's kind of progressed. And then obviously the book come out, and then people learned more about me. Then more people keep messaging me saying, "How did you get over it?" Especially anxiety, how to deal with anxiety. So I talked to people a lot, and it just kind of slowly progressed from there. And then I went to see a spiritualist, and she said to me that you help a lot of people, don't you? And I went, yeah, but it's not really a big deal. And she says, no, that's your problem. It says, like, you're dismissing what you're doing for people. You're changing lives and you're helping people, but you're dismissing it. You need to own what you do and understand what you're doing for people. So I put a tweet out that night saying, if anyone thinks I've ever helped them by having a chat with them or done out for them, can you message me, please? Just send me an email or something. You don't have to tell me who you are, but just tell me what you think I've done for you or how you think I've helped. And we had I think it was 74 messages that night. And my missus was reading them, and it was like, I felt really suicidal when I met you, and then you turned me round. I've now got a missus and a baby, and I'm really happy. And it was just loads of things like this. A copper that messaged me, he said he was going for a really bad time with his missus. He was on the verge of divorce. They've now remarried and sorted themselves. Wow. I mean, it's like, and all I do, I'm common, do you know what I mean? And I do swear too much. Well, I'm very blunt, and I tell you exactly how I see it. I'm not there to be your friend. I'm not there to kiss your ass. I'm there to tell you how I see it and the shit I've been through. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how I see the best way of moving forward. And he just kind of developed from that, and I did that. And then I thought, well, if I could do this without even trying while I'm tattooing someone, what could I do if I tried? So I went to schools. I went to my old school that kicked me out and said I want to know. So I did that, and then I ended up life coaching with the teachers and the pupils. And the pupils was telling their parents how great it was, what I was telling them. Where you've got to see it from like a kid's point of view. A teacher is boring, a parent is boring. Yeah. I'm Ed Sheeran's friend. You know what I mean? When I go in there and say the same things what they're saying to them, they're hanging on every word. And I kind of learned that with kids, it was, if I drop a few stories about parties with Kardashians or all that kind of shit, or going to a red carpet with Justin Bieber or something, do you know what I mean? It's like, wow, this is like really cool. And then I'll say, well, then I did all this shit that you're doing now, and it did no good. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so only when I stopped doing that and did better, that my life got better. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I explained it in a very simple way, and it worked brilliantly. So I thought, right, well, now where can I go? I thought, prison. I'll go into prison. And then I told a few people who went, you ain't going to get into a prison. So I went straight up to the prison, the one close to me. I went straight up to it, asked to speak to the bosses. They had a chat with me, and I went, I could change the mindset of these people in here better than what you can. And they went, okay, come and try. I went in and gave me a room of about 30 people. I think 2 walked out, and every single other one wanted me to come back. They wanted to work with me. And I spent about 6 months there, and I made massive headway. I even had a drug dealer in there who was like a big time drug lord. His dad had been shot from drugs and everything. Like, he was a really bad guy. He wrote a program for the police on how to stop county lines, because he's the guy that was behind the county lines. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I get out of here, me and my missus have been talking about what you've said, and I want to turn my life around, and I want to turn my negatives into positives. I'm a big thing about negatives into positives. And he wanted to turn his life around. So it worked really, really well. And I got far with it. And then I got approached by a prison called Warren Hill in Suffolk. And it's the first UK super prison. Mm-hmm. And they've got like the Cray level gangster type people in there. Do you know what I mean? There was a famous murderer in there that I worked with on a one-to-one as well. I'm not allowed to say his name, but he's really notorious like for murder. And I had a one-to-one with him. He wanted to meet me, and I was chatting with him and did some stuff. It was good. I found it was very, I learned so much from it. Although they're learning from me, I kind of learned from them. The first time I went into there, I went in there wearing a Rolex, and I had like a Louis Vuitton backpack on. I was dripping in designer shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I knew that's what they like. and they were looking at me, and they were looking straight through me and looking at my things and going, that's what I want. And all these people that are selling drugs, involved with crime and all this kind of shit, they want the Rolex, they want the nice bag, they want the nice car, everything that I've got. I paid for it legally.
Exactly, yeah.
I paid for it legally. It's mine. Police can't do shit for me. Do you know what I mean? It's mine. Where with theirs, it was borrowed time before it was took off them. And then they've ended up in prison. And now what the message I kind of tell them is, it's all these things that I've got are not my happy memories. If you say to me what my happy memories are my kids, the experiences with them, the love that they give me. They create that positive energy in me, and they are my world. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I would give up every flash thing I've ever bought or a nice thing I've ever got to have that. Do you know what I mean? In my life,
100%.
And I looked at these prisoners, and I thought, it's just so sad, because all these people. I mean, there was a lot of like black lads in there, like gang lads, and it's like, yeah, they come from big families. They have families that love them, and they've thrown it all away. They've thrown away the chance to have kids, to have a family, to have love in their life, to be there for their mum as she grows old, to be able to protect their family, just for chasing money.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And it's so sad to see. I mean, there was a lad in there who was telling me that he stabbed someone, killed someone when he was 17, and he's now 32 or something, and still in prison. And he said, I'm still a virgin. I'm still a virgin. And it's like, being a gang member isn't cool. There's nothing cool about it. It was such an eye-opener for me. Do you know what I mean? And it's a great thing, because then I can then pass that message to other people of what I've seen and what they've been through and stuff. But I even had Joe Exotic message me. You know, he sent me
amazing
2 letters to my house. I don't know how the fuck you knew where I live. Because there was some manager in America that messaged me. He said, one of my clients wants to speak to you. So I sent them my details. And then about 3 months passed. And then one Saturday morning, it was really weird. It's like, I was with Paddy Considine. So Paddy Considine was pulling on my drive, and I thought I'll check the post. So I checked the post box, and there was a letter, and it was like prison service stuff. And I opened it, and it was Joe Exotic saying, I've got a big following in England, this, that, and the other. And he was like, could you help me? He wants to get out of prison, doesn't he? So he wanted me to help. And then he was telling me all about Carol Baskin and how she was paying all his staff to spy on him, and it was basically set up. Yeah, it's mad.
That is madness. What an end to that story. It's so good that you've been able to learn yourself, though, because as you said, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you can't learn to be a life coach. I've been through shit. I mean, to the point of having no education, being involved with drugs and that, being through the anxiety, not being able to leave the house. Like, my mindset back then was, I'm never going to be anything. That's all I was ever told by everyone. I was never going to be anything. My dreams when I was like 15, 16 was to own a council house, have a Staffordshire Bull Terrier and sell drugs, and have a Fiat Uno Turbo. That was my dream. I remember it. Do you know what I mean? Well, and it's like my dreams now are to like write movies and write TV shows and to do all this live coach shit that I do. And it's like my life has drastically changed, and it's only changed because I've got off my arse. I've worked towards something. I've set goals and I've gone to do them, and they've worked.
Yeah, 100%. It's that consistency, isn't it? That's all that matters. But before we proceed with our next question, we just want to give a big shout out to our sponsors.
You should mention it because they've got awesome pins like, I don't know if you can see that, The Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior, and the man himself, Hulk Hogan. They do mugs, they do stickers, they do everything, mate. Really high quality. Like really affordable, really high quality. Like you say, you don't get stuff like that very often anymore.
No, you don't, do you? And is that the one where you put the promo code IOHPod15 and you get 15% off your order?
I believe it is. That's basically free postage and packing.
Yeah, IOHPod15 for 15% off your order. And I've heard that goes with all of the discounts and stuff they've got on at the same time.
Yeah, and they, as far as I know, they're regularly doing sales, new pins, like pretty much every week. They do giveaways, they do competitions, they do games on their social media, stuff like that.
That's brilliant. So head on over to wrestleandpins.bigcartel.com. That's wrestleandpins.bigcartel.com. So, back to the mental health question just really quickly. Obviously, the pandemic, we're all in it. Hopefully, we're near the end. But how have you found ways to express your creativity? And as you said, just keeping your mind level.
Yeah. I think it was a shock for everybody when it first. I mean, with me personally, it's like last year I decided to close my shop, get rid of my house, take a big farm, and turn the stables into studios and work from home, and kind of simplify my life. So we did that at the beginning of last year, put a lot of time and effort and money into it. Did that, and about 4 months in, woke up one morning and I was like over my knee in water. That the whole house, the shop, everything got completely destroyed. So overnight, I was jobless, homeless, had a baby on the way, and 2 other kids as well. Do you know what I mean? So I had that at the beginning. We stayed at my mum's for like a month. Then I managed to get another house in the countryside. So we moved there. 2 weeks after moving there, Boris said, "You can't work." Do you know what I mean? So it was like I got hit by that, then that, and then I had a baby in the middle of it. And then I couldn't see my baby for the first week. When she was born, they said, "Drop off at the door and we'll tell you when she's here." Do you know what I mean? So then she was in for a week. So didn't see her for a week. I've been hit really bad with it personally. But for me, last year was the best year of my life. 100%. Like, I've lost a ridiculously stupid amount of money. I've lost TV shows that I was going to do. I've lost offers that were put forward to me. But I got to spend every single day with my kids, going on big walks in the forest, go running through the cow field, trying not to get. You know what I mean? It was brilliant. And we was going on like 3-hour walks. I cooked. Do you know what I mean? I've never really cooked. It turns out that I'm the best cook. I was cooking nice breakfast, dinners, teas. I was cleaning the house thoroughly every day. It was brilliant. Like, I had the best time ever. Do you know what I mean? But it was like financially, I got hit really, really hard with it. But memory-wise, I've got great memories. It's like what I decided to do was, because our house had been took and it had been destroyed, that I thought, fuck this. Like, I got involved in a rat race, in that celebrity lifestyle, where I just wanted to tattoo a couple of people so I could charge more, buy a house outright, and live a nice little life. Yeah. And then you're in this lifestyle, and you're driving around in flash 100 grand cars. You got dripping in gold and nice things and designer stuff. And it's like, without even realizing what you're doing is, you're being part of that life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're living up to someone else's expectations. And it was a massive wake-up call to me last year. I said, like, doing the prisons and realizing they're chasing that. And I had that legally, and it didn't mean shit to me. It really doesn't. And I have still got some nice things, but I kind of fucked everything off. It was like, I said, fuck it, we're not having a big house again. We're not going to have the big cars again. So I sold the cars. I bought a couple of cars for cash, like outright. We got a semi-detached house instead of a farm in the countryside. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's still a nice village where we live, but it's like, I took my overheads down by about $4 grand a month.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It is like, I dropped it dramatically. And I feel so much happier for doing it.
I bet you do.
You know what I mean? For getting rid of all that shit on me. And it's like, I feel kind of sad for a lot of people, because like, they're not in that situation. I mean, there's a few tattooists that I talk to, and they're telling me now that they're really, really struggling, like, to keep things afloat, to keep things going and stuff. And I think people, when you go through something like this, you need to really calculate what your lifestyle is. If something like this is going to affect you so badly, then you really should be living the lifestyle you live in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to simplify your lifestyle. But we don't. Like, I think, like, say, the celebrity market and social media and that, we push designer things and looking glamorous and flash. So everyone's got everything on finance now.
Yeah.
Like, the cars, the houses, the jewelry, even. Like, I didn't even realize you could buy watches on finance, but you can buy watches.
Yeah.
It's mad.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you're working 7 days a week to pay that off. So the things that really matter, like your family and your kids and your loved ones, you're not with them, because you're out working to pay off, trying to impress other people anymore. And it's like, I just don't want to be a part of that anymore. Like, I kind of didn't realize I was in it till I was in it.
Yeah.
But I got out of it. Like, last year for me, it was a way for me to get out.
Yeah, I think, Chris, you're literally a mirror of that, aren't you? Minus the money, but spending time with your son.
Yeah. I started a new job in October. and I think I've worked about 5 or 6 weeks of that job since, like still employed, still being paid, furloughed, obviously not on full pay, but my son was born at the very start of August, so I've spent literally like 5 of his 7 months with him, and it's just been fucking beautiful. Like I wouldn't have changed this, as selfish as it sounds, I wouldn't have changed this last year, because it's just been on a personal level incredible for me. You know, I do feel bad. I feel really bad for people who haven't had it as easy as us, who haven't been allowed to work from home or allowed to, you know, be paid while sitting around. I'm sitting around doing fuck all. I'm playing PS5 all day and just messing around with my son. It's, you know, it's been amazing. Right, I want to talk about the perception of tattooing, because obviously, you know, as you said, over the years things have changed. When you first started out and in the early 90s, it wasn't really sort of like a common thing. It was very rare. I mean, I remember growing up, I barely ever saw tattoos on anybody in sort of like the mid to late 90s. How did tattooing and tattoos become so mainstream? Like, what have you noticed changing over the years? Has it all been because of celebrities, or has it been because of how easy it is to get into it? Or
I'd say TV shows, definitely. I think like the tattoo TV shows that are out there have kind of destroyed the industry. But I can see
things like Tattoo Fixers and shows like that.
I had to cover the work that they were doing. Do you know what I mean? So it's like even before that. So you had things like Miami Ink, which was the first one that kind of took off, and then it kind of went to LA Ink. Then we had London Ink. But the problem is, it's like you're taking an industry that's revolved around art and creating beautiful things, and then you get in these middle class people who make TV shows. Take control of it and try to show the world how they see it. And it's not like that. Nothing is like they show. And they really fuck it up in a really bad way. So they kind of obviously made it really mainstream, which you can, I mean, most tattooists will say, oh, the fucking shit, the crap, it's worse than ever happened. But realistically, all these people won't be earning the money they're earning if it wasn't mainstream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was doing it when it wasn't mainstream. And there was nowhere near the amount of money there is in tattooing like there is now. It's a £2 billion industry a year now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It wasn't that back then. Where most of these people that are getting into it now, even over the last 10 years, they're not real tattooists. They don't come from having to solder their own needles together and doing all that kind of shit. Now you buy it on a pack from your local supplier and pop it in an electric pen and colour away. Do you know what I mean? They don't understand what the tattooing history was like. And then obviously the David Beckham was a massive one that kind of took. He obviously like pushed it forward. I'd say David Beckham was the one that made it acceptable for celebrities to be covered in tattoos. Yeah. He was a big reason for that. It's just unfortunate that he had really shit tattoos. But, you know what I mean? But yeah, he was a massive trendsetter and definitely did a lot for the industry, whether it be good or bad. Some people would say either. TV shows, they've never been done properly. And then I was watching something the other day, and I've never really thought about it this way, but he was saying, it was Paul Booth, the guy that I kind of looked up to growing up, and he was saying it went wrong when they did things like Tattoo Masters, where it's like, it's become a competition on who's the better artist. Yeah. And it's like, art is about creating. It's like years ago at tattoo conventions, all the artists would get together, they'd create together, they'd collaborate, they'd show each other tricks on how they do things, how they create things. And it was a big, lovely place to be. Now it's about, I'm better than you. I'm more flash than you. I've got more Instagram followers than you have. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's become a competition, which it's just not. Like, it's an art form. It's about creating beautiful things, not about I'm better than you or this, that, and the other. It's like, I don't really do tattoo conventions anymore, but like, I've noticed that if I do show my face to something, they do recognize who I am, a lot of people. And it's like the arrogance, and they pull away from me straight away, like they don't want to speak to you or have anything to do with it. And it's like, what's the point of being like that, man? We're all in the same game. Like, learn
exactly.
From me. I mean, I'm as good as I am because of the people I've learned from.
Yeah.
I mean, from the people I've met, the shows I've worked at, and all the kind of vibe that I've been around.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's, you know, it's a different level, but it's like us in the podcast game, isn't it? These, you know,
I was just going to say
we collab with how many people?
We've had some really shitty comments and reactions recently because we've had some big guests, you know, and people are jealous of those guests that we've got. And like, we're just proactive and we just care and we try and we push ourselves. But you know,
it's the problem is people, instead of trying to make their own success, they'd rather hate you for your success.
Yeah.
But I always say to people, like when people ever get bitter or really nasty or something, I always just say to them, it's like, I got my success by learning from people that have got more than me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if someone's more successful than me, I want to be around them and learn from them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, like I said, when I'm around pop stars and stuff, I've learned so much from being around people. Like say with Ed Sheeran, it's like, I didn't really learn anything from Ed because he was so young, but it was like being around his mum and dad's and listening to his dad. I mean, I can remember one night, it will stick with me forever. And his dad stayed up all night with me and I was chatting with him on the sofa. And I was saying about Ed growing up and how he brought him up. And the things he told me about how he brought Ed up will always stick with me. And I'll always do that with my kids. It's like you learn from these people. Like he made a great son that's polite, well-mannered, a lovely man. Do you know what I mean? In every sense of the way. And it's like, if my kids are half as nice as how Ed turned out, do you know what I mean? So I want to spend all the time with his dad and talk to him and learn how he's done that. It's just like when I'm with billionaires, like millionaires, it's like, I love I don't give a shit about their money. And the reason these people book me is because I take the piss out of them like I would anyone else. If their ideas are shit, I tell them the shit. But they're people that are used to everyone being a yes man around them. Exactly. Every single person is sucking them off, saying, oh, yes, we'll do anything, like just keep the money coming. And it's like, I go in there and go, nah, shit, that looks crap. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I learn from them so much. There was one billionaire that I met, and I've become quite good friends with him now. And my life coaching really took structure after I met him. Because like one night I was with him, and he said to me, he said, the one thing in life that you've always got to have is that end goal. If you've not got that end goal, you're literally just going from place to place to place, and you've got no structure to your life. You need to have that end goal to work towards, have something in place to do. And I kind of thought about it, and I thought, fucking hell, yeah, I'd never thought about it like that. But it's like, everything I've ever achieved when I was doing positive things was a goal. Yeah. Everything I set was a goal. And that's what took me in a right path and away from the negative. And then I met someone through this guy who taught me about core energies and things like that. And it was like, I understand, like every human body has got a core energy there in your chest. When you're upset or hurt, you feel hurt there. When you're positive and happy, you feel enlightened there. That's your core energy. That's what you radiate out to the world. So every situation you're in, if you're radiating positivity around it, that positive energy comes back to you. And this is how a billionaire becomes a billionaire, because they fill you full of so much positive energy when they're selling something to you that you want to buy into it. They fill you with the positive energy. They made you happy and positive. And this vision in your head, it becomes enlightened with all this positivity, and that you want to be a part of it. And that's how they become billionaires. And it's like, I learned so much from being around better people who are doing better than me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, you just get people that just want to be negative, and they're the ones that sit at home on the computers, bitching everyone.
Hey, D's.
Keyboard warriors, trolls.
Yeah, I like them though. Like, I think someone who hates you, you've obviously made a big impact to them for them to want to hate you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I have people who like me and love me and stuff, but like most of them don't even fucking tell me. I'll probably put a like on your social media, some things like that. I've had people who hate me who've sent me letters, who've sent me shit on. Someone even made stickers saying, underneath all your tattoos, you're still a mainstream wanker. You know what I mean? And then posted it to me. So it's like, that's a lot of effort, isn't it, to do that kind of stuff? And it's like, you've got to love that, really.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Back to tattoos, just quickly. You said obviously about tattoo artists aren't working together anymore. Yeah. A few are, obviously, maybe lower down the chain. But have you noticed, obviously, because you're quite mainstream, have you noticed any particular recent trends when it comes to tattoos? And what do you think the next big trend may be?
It's hard to say what the next one's going to be. I think for girls, it's mandala patterns, or the pretty dot work patterns, pocket watches. I mean, I hate with a passion pocket watches. That they're one of the most horriblest trends ever, man. Lions, obviously, that are a massive one. Like the clouds and the angels and the doves and that, they seem to have faded out now.
Yeah.
The David Beckham trend is kind of faded out. The Greek gods is quite big as well. I mean, I hate fashion trend tattoos. I mean, I turn them away. I probably turn away 50% of people that ask me for work because I don't want to do something I don't like. And it's
Exactly.
like, and the sad thing is, it's like most people are not artistic, but they want to be covered in tattoos. So they'll find someone on Google, take it to an artist and go, I want that. And most of them will say, yeah, I want your money. So sit down, I'll slap it on and we'll give me your money. And then do the next one, do the next one and the next one and the next one. Where it's like with me, I want your tattoos to be personal.
Yeah.
And I think this is what made me so big. And with the kind of people I work with, like with the rich people and the famous people, it was, I don't tolerate shit. And I'll tell you exactly what I think. Do you know what I mean? So if you come to me with a shit idea, I'll say it's a shit idea. But I won't just lend it there. I'll then say, tell me why you want this. And then I'll make them look at it outside the box of a more personal way of putting something together.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we kind of do something. Because my head's full of a billion ideas and a billion ways of doing a billion things. Where theirs is, I've looked at this picture on Google of a pocket watch. And if I put my son's date and birth on there, that's going to look really good. But you're going to look like every single other person out there in the world that's done exactly the same thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, so I want my work to be more personal, have a personal meaning, a personal story. Because that way you don't regret it. Because fashion trends, they last like, it's like everyone had the tribal with when Dust Till Dawn come out. So it's like Dust Till Dawn come out, everyone had tribal. And then Robbie Williams was really big with a Maori. So everyone started having Maori. So the people that had the tribal then wanted to cover it with Maori, which can't be done. And then we had David Beckham come out. So then all the people that had the tribal and the Maori then wanted to get rid of that and have black and grey clouds and angels with David Beckham had it. So then they were trying to cover all that with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It goes on and on and on. So for me, I kind of get really excited by creating that personal message. Do you know what I mean? Like doing personal things, not part of that kind of trend. I think people will regret it. I don't really know what the next thing is going to be. Like the fine line, like little petite fine line, little tattoos.
Yeah.
Some celebs are getting them. That's quite a big trend. But again, with that, it's that fine line that they'll fade to shit.
Yeah.
In a couple of years, they'll just look shit. None of them will look really good. Like if you look at David Beckham, he's got stuff on his hands where he's had done in LA where it's all super fine line. He's got little bits on his neck. If you look at it close up, it's shit. And it's all faded out and it looks really crap. But they're the fashion trend tattooers. They're the ones that want the like on social media. Do you know what I mean? So they're different to the real tattooists that want to do a good solid tattoo on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. What do you make of the stigma around tattoos? Like it's been there forever, and it's probably going to be there forever. But like, where did the stigma come from? Like, why does it exist in the first place? And do you think, you know? Because I think I said to you, like, I've got a Marvel sleeve, I've got Pac-Man, Star Wars, a shit heart skull, or video games on my chest, and they are not threatening. They're not offensive. But even I've had like dodgy looks from people just because I've got them.
Well, I did a documentary for BBC One last year. It went out just before lockdown. It went out. Actually, it was meant to go out the day that Boris said.
His announcement. Wow.
But yeah, it got cancelled and then it got put back a week and then went out. And on that, I went to speak to a professor at Derby Uni, and about first reactions. So this documentary was about first reactions of someone who's heavily tattooed. So we spoke to the professor. They said that when you first see a woman, if she's covered in tattoos, you basically think she's a bit of a slut. She's an alkie. She's quite loose with her morals and the way that she is. And with a guy, if you see someone who's heavily tattooed, you assume they're quite violent and aggressive and involved with gangs and all that kind of stuff. That's your first instinct remark, like when you first see it. And I thought, no, I don't think you do. But then I thought, you probably do really, like to a certain degree, not to that extent, but I think we all do. We all have that built-in. We're animals at the end of the day. So thousands of years ago, we had to protect ourselves. So that first instinct when we see someone, we do have that protection. We look at everyone and we judge them straight away.
Yeah.
But when we see past that judgment, when we first see them, is a different thing. Do you know what I mean? Where like if you've seen a woman who's covered in tattoos, you're not going to think she's a solicitor or she's a respected woman, are you?
No.
Imagine she's quite common and she's that kind of way because she's tattooed. But we know to give her the benefit of the doubt, and then you kind of learn to grow to understand them, don't you? It's like with a guy, if you see a guy who's covered in tattoos, you would think he's probably a bit more aggressive, but then you kind of see past it. And yeah, so I think a bigger part of public are that base thing. Do you know what I mean? Of that, where me personally, I think I'd kind of look at your work, and if it is good quality work, I'd think he's obviously got a decent job to be able to afford it. Do you know what I mean? If it was shit work, I'd probably think you probably are some Scotty guy. Do you know what I mean? That haven't got his money. Do you know what I mean? So I would kind of still in a different way. I think the base thing comes from like say like biker gangs years ago, skinheads. They was all heavily tattooed, so it was always seen as a negative, wasn't it, back then?
Yeah.
I think it has changed a hell of a lot though, like over the years. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of jobs now you see people that are really covered in tattoos and you wouldn't really expect them.
No.
I mean, we spoke to a police officer on that TV show from Liverpool. She was actually based in Liverpool, and she's got like upper neck, full arm sleeves, all her body's done, and things like that. Where she has to cover them at work because her boss doesn't like them, but she's got them. Do you know what I mean? So it is a little bit more acceptable. But then I see the flip on it, because I was thinking if some old woman needs help, and there's this big fucking guy who's covered in tattoos, who's a copper, comes, it probably would intimidate her. Past the uniform, she'd be intimidated, and he needs to be that person that you want to go to, not be intimidated from. So in certain areas, I could see both sides of the story. Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of sit in the middle. I get judged everywhere. Like when I said I was going to Parliament and I changed the law thing, I got stopped by armed police outside Parliament. So I had a bag on, and I had a hood up because it was raining. And they said, "What you doing?" I said, "I'm going into Parliament." As soon as I said that, they got out and they had like guns down the side and stuff. And they pushed me to this wall. And I was like, what the fuck? And they went, "You look a bit dodgy, and we've followed you from Downing Street as you've walked down and come around here. And the cameras have picked you up and said you look dodgy." And they went like, "What's going on?" I went, "I'm going into Parliament," which obviously the word didn't say, like, when you look dodgy. So, yeah, then I had a show on Channel 4 at the time doing stuff. And one of them recognised me from that. And he went, "Oh, can I know who you are?" And I went, "Yes, I'm going into Parliament changing laws and stuff." And he went, "Oh, sorry, you do look dodgy." But I don't see that as a negative. Because potentially that could have been a terrorist that was going to blow up innocent people. I'd rather them stop me knowing I've done nothing wrong. Do you know what I mean? And then potentially save lives instead of being afraid to stop people and risk lives. So, I think the other way I see it as well is I've chosen to make myself look like this. So I can't exactly whine when people then start judging me. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I go in Louis Vuitton or something, they look at you like you're shit as you walk around. Do you know what I mean? But then it's like, but I've chosen to look like this. Do you know what I mean? And it does intimidate some people. But you've got to be clever enough to understand, like, if you're going to have tattoos on your face and your neck and all over you, you're going to change the reaction of the way people judge you. Do you know what I mean? So you can't really whine about it. It's just part of life. Just get on with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
the best way of dealing with it is by proving them wrong, by being a really nice person, by being polite and showing them that way. You're educating these people then, instead of rising to the negative and go, "The fuck are you looking at, you cunt?" Do you know what I mean? That's the worst thing to do. You've got to rise above them.
Yes.
How nice you are and what a good person you are.
100%. It's that perception, isn't it? We do live in an environment which is based on appearance. It's that simple. So going back to, I think you kind of answered it, but I'd like a bit more detail. Do you think there are challenges in being a tattoo artist for others against artists who just create for themselves?
Yeah, I think being a tattooist now is one of the hardest things to do. There is so many. I mean, like back in the 90s, I think there was something like 8,000 shops across the UK. Now there's something near on 100,000 shops in the UK. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, Jesus.
They're everywhere. The little village where I grew up had nothing like that. And now there's, I think, like 10 shops. There's probably 15 artists there. And it's a crap little village with poverty where no one's got any money. Do you know what I mean? There's like 15 tattooists working there. And each one of them has then got to make enough money to pay their bit towards the shop and then pay for their bills, pay for their families, pay for their holidays and all that kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the tattoo industry is at its breaking point, I think. There's far too many people doing the industry that really shouldn't be doing it. Like, most people in tattooing are shit. Like, they can't tattoo. they're idiots with a tattoo machine they've bought off eBay or Amazon. They've practiced on their mates and then set up a shop. And vulnerable, gullible people see a nice, clean shop because their mates are joining and done a really nice job of the shop. They go in there thinking they're going to get a great tattoo, and they get a piece of shit on their arm. Do you know what I mean? Which they've paid. I mean, I've had people come to me where they've paid £2,000 for an arm sleeve where they butchered their arm. And I've said, like, why have you kept going back? So he kept saying that it'll get better as it goes on. I have to layer it. And it's like, so they're $2,000 in and they've got an absolute scarred up mess on their arm. And this isn't a rarity now. This is like, I'd say there's probably 25-30% of shops in the UK that should be there. And the rest of them are proper shit. They've got no proper experience. They haven't got a love for tattooing. They haven't got a love for art. Most of them can't even do art. Most of them,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Print the picture off Google and stick it on and have a go at doing it. And it's like, it's being destroyed. Like, I think the last lockdown, I mean, personally, I think the last lockdown and this lockdown, most of these tattooists have just been tattooing in the houses. Yeah. I mean, like, I was at a burger van the other day at B&Q, and the guy there said this lad was there yesterday with a big fresh tattoo he just had on his arm. He had at someone's house. Do you know what I mean? So I don't believe for a second that they've all stopped. I think they've just been tattooing at home. Yeah. Shops. I think there's very few of them that have probably done it legally and properly. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be a very interesting one when it opens. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because like I said, it's not just a case of now you can get tattooed. Now it's a case of, well, most people have lost jobs. Most people have been out of work for a while. Do you know what I mean? So money. Tattoo is a luxury. And when you're going through a year of shit like this, a luxury is the last thing on your mind. I'd say a holiday is probably the front of everyone's mind at the minute. Not I think it'll be a massive kick in the balls for the industry and a lot of the people in it. I spoke to a couple of tattooists that said they was like looking at doing part-time work, like working at Amazon and doing stuff like that. So I think with everything in the world though now, we don't know. We can't say this is what will now happen. Yeah. Because we've never been through it before. So it's definitely a game changer. How it's going to change, I don't know. I think it'll have an effect. I don't think that many people will be getting as much tattoos anymore. I think the charging as well, like you get street shops now that are charging 80, 90, 100 pound an hour for tattoos, which just isn't justified at all. Yeah. You know what I mean, it's like, I think the prices of tattoos will probably take a hit now as well. Yeah. I think a lot of them will kind of drop back down. I hope they do anyway. I personally hope they do. Yeah, so I think there's a lot. It's quite hard to be that. Being a normal artist is just, I suppose, the money isn't really there, but you kind of get that love of the freedom of doing what you want. Yeah. You're not relying on someone else's perception, are you? I think like when people get into tattoos now, everyone always says to me, "Oh, it's really cool. I want a tattoo. I want to do this," and it's like, but you have to sell out to be a tattooist. Like, you don't get to do what you want to do. You're doing what the idiot up the road who works at a factory or McDonald's wants, who's looked on Google and found this image, and he wants that. It's soul destroying. It's like, I always explain it as like, it's like going to uni for 10 years to learn how to design a Lamborghini. You know how to do the engines, how to do the exhaust, the interior, how the airflow goes in the car. And then you finish, you get a job, and every single person's asking you to design a Ford Fiesta. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is being a tattooist. You've got these great ideas and these ideas that you want to create, and everybody wants you to do a turd. And it's just, it's soul destroying to a big degree. Like, people don't get that. They just see the glamorous little bits and the odd cool tattoo that people get to do, but they don't show you the day-to-day shit that you have to do to pay the bills. No, I said it's that mainstream media, isn't it? It's that type of stuff that's driving people to get these horrendous tattoos. Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna bring the mood down a little bit, which is something that I always do on this fucking podcast.
We leave that to
you. So you've worked with the NHS to help the victims of the Manchester Arena bombing, obviously a fucking tragic thing that happened. How did that come about? Like, you working with the NHS and helping them? Did they reach out to you, or did you go out of your way to help them? Or
it was a bit of a weird one. So a few years before that, I was at some big footballer's house in Leeds, I think it was, and his bank manager was there. And his bank manager was telling me that he had tattoos and this, that, and the other. And it was just kind of a bit of a chat. That was it. And then go 2 years back forward then to when that happened. I got a tweet, a personal DM off a guy who told me that he was in the Manchester bombing and he was paralyzed and he was in hospital. It was about 2 weeks after, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks after. And he said, I can't leave the hospital. I'm going to be in here for like 6 months, but I'd love for you to work with me, and would you be able to come into the hospital? So I said, I'll come up, we'll have a chat, we'll do this and the other. So where I had to go was where it was a spinal imagery, or spinal problems and all that kind of stuff. So it was people like ex-army people that had been blown up, and it was the victims of the Manchester bombing was in there, all that kind of stuff. So I went up, met him. I met a few other people in the ward and stuff like that. And I was just more life coaching. It was just like I was just helping them and just talking about positivity and being there for people to vent to. Do you know what I mean? And I heard some very, very dark things like that had happened there and what had gone on. I'd even spoke to some of the police there, and they told me about stuff that weren't been released and stuff like that. And I got on with him really well. He was a lovely guy. And then he said, if I can arrange it, would you tattoo me like in hospital? And I said, I don't think the hospital are going to let you do that, but if you can get that, then yeah. So he spoke to the hospital and they went, no, you can't get tattooed in hospital. Plus, obviously, he had 22 bolts in his body that they took out. He'd been through major things. I think he died like 3 times.
Jesus.
Hospital. He'd been through the most horrific time ever. So then they're saying, can we bring this dodgy guy in to do a dodgy? They was going, no, we're not doing it. And then I think he spoke to one of the bosses at the hospital. They'd looked me up and seen all the stuff I'd done. And then they said, yeah, we could do it. Like, we would do it. So I went up again, and I got given I went to go up, and then he got changed hospital to another hospital. Yeah, and it was just down from Blackpool, Southport, is it, or something like that?
Yeah. It's by me.
Yeah, it was there. So he got moved to there, and he said, "Oh, sorry, we'll have to cancel it because I've been moved to there." So he got pulled back about 2 weeks, and I went back up. And then we had to ask that hospital then if we could do it there. They said, "Yeah, okay, we'll arrange everything to do it." And I got given my own room, and I got with my own nurse to run around after me, and so I was like the doctor. So yeah, literally, they was waiting for me when I got there. They were carrying my bags for me. They were helping me and doing everything. And then ITV found out about it, and they said, "Well, we want to film what you're doing." So there was a documentary made about it at ITV, about what we did. So yeah, so we kind of did that. So I'm the only tattooist in England who's allowed to work in an NHS hospital.
That's amazing, mate. Absolutely amazing.
I was going to say that's amazing. Obviously it's a shame it came off the back of something so shit and horrible, but that's a hell of a thing to say.
For me, I think that's one of the best things I've ever achieved. Like I said, I've got things. I'm in the V&A Museum in London, and I've done, like, say, work with all these big pop stars and do like change laws stuff. It's like, for me, like the most important thing I think I've ever achieved in my career is being able to help in such a horrible thing that's happened, to be able. I mean, I'm a nobody. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a fucking idiot that's tattooed a few celebrities and talks about himself all the time. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And for high levels like that, or when they've been through such terrible things, to say we want you to be involved, we want you to help us, was a very, very powerful thing. To me, to be a part of. And it was like I said, I've been with some major situations. I've been on TV to 100 million people, on news shows, shit like that, and it's like I'm not bothered by it. But when I went to do that, I did have some level of nerves in me.
Yeah.
And I went there on my own. I had no one there with me. There was nothing, and my head was just like, "Fuck you now." You know what I mean? It was like, well, we went into it and we did it, and it's like the guy who it was a guy called Martin Hibbert, who was in the bombing, and he's the most sweetest, loveliest guy you'll ever meet, and he's so determined. He's never stopped. Like, even though he was hurt and he was in hospital for so long and he couldn't walk, and his daughter got hurt as well in the bombing. She got the same kind of issues that he had, and he has never stopped. Like, and he went back to work. He still works now. He campaigns. He does stuff to help other people. He's determined to try walk again. Do you know what I mean? He's been to Australia to do stuff, And it's like, my God, this is the guy that's the real deal here. Do you know what I mean? It's like when people, and you get people moaning at you or bitching that life's shit and this, that, and the other. It's like, this guy's been through so much shit and he's still positive every day and he's still got this going in. Because I've become good friends with him. Like me and my kids, we always go up and stay with him.
That's amazing.
I've got a dog called Alfie, little cocker spaniel thing. And we go up and stay with him. He lives in Chorley. And we go up there all the time. Like the kids the other day were saying, when can we go back up? It's obviously lockdown, we've not been able to go up. But that was one of the first things I did, last lockdown when we could go out.
Yeah.
We went up to Blackpool for the day and then we went to Chorley to say hello to him and we took him some presents up because he's obviously locked in the house. He couldn't really go anywhere. So this is the shit that the media don't want to print about me.
Exactly,
they want to print me scratching Ed Sheeran's head or fucking picking his nose, but they don't want to print about major things like this. Do you know what I mean? That would have a real impact on people. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, for me, that was one of the most powerful things I think I've achieved.
100%. And we've got nothing but respect for you doing it, mate.
Yeah, it's validation for everything you've ever done, isn't it? And everything you've ever gone through. Right. So what advice would you give for a young up and coming tattooist, somebody aspiring to be a tattooist, just starting out? Obviously, stick away from all the dodgy shit that you've told us that you've seen and that people have done and buying their fucking kits off Amazon and that. But how would they get into it, and should they have sort of like an artistic background first?
Yeah, when people ask me now, I always say, if you want to get, people say, how do I get a tattoo and I want to be a tattooist? I'd normally say, don't bother unless you're an amazing artist and you think you've got something new to bring to the table. There isn't really, you're not really going to get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Every shop has got too many people in it. Every shop has got too many trainees, apprentices, where realistically the shop are just using them for slave labour to take the piss out of and have a laugh at. Do you know what I mean? They don't really intend for them to be tattooists a lot of the time.
Yeah.
The industry is destroyed. I don't think there's any work for more people trying to get into it. But on the flip of that, like if you're a super amazing artist, then this is something you could do. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's different ways of going about it. Like I'd say get an apprenticeship, but then most shops are shit, and they couldn't train you anyway. Do you know what I mean? They're just going to teach you how to do everything wrong.
Yeah.
So it's a case of trying to find a really good shop that has great artists that would help you, that would be good for you. Do you know what I mean? And then do it that way. But you're pissing in the wind to try and find that. So it's a very, very hard situation. I mean, I do training courses, but I don't do it like all the time, but it is publicly known that I do training courses, like an intense course. So, and most artists will bitch me for it or slag me off for it, but well, I see it's like, if people really want to do it, they'll save up and train with someone like me that knows what they're doing, knows how to do it properly, and have a good basic outlay of how to do the industry.
Yes.
And at least then when you go away and do it at home or do whatever you want to do, at least you know how to do it right.
Exactly.
I was doing it wrong for fucking years. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I had to fumble through and try to get away with it. But in this day and age, we don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Things like YouTube or all these suppliers everywhere. We don't need to do these things. But there's no way of really becoming a great artist and doing things properly without the experience of someone that's done it all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got better when I started to work at conventions, started meeting other people, started working with other artists, starting to learn. Like I said, the Paul Booth, the guy that I looked up to as a kid, like for years, he was like a big god to me. Like, I mean, he started with people like Slipknot, all the big metal bands, all that kind of stuff. He was doing all them. And then I ended up getting tattooed by him myself.
Amazing.
Years ago. I ended up getting I spent a day with him. And I learned so much from how he works and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you need to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You need to be around people. And another thing I always say to people is, if you're really, really into tattoos and you really love it, get tattooed by people you love. Do you know what I mean? Like get that bond with them, get friendly with them, watch what they're doing when they're tattooing you, understand how they're doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I learned so much from that. Because then you get the feel of it as well. Because the machine going like this could be done at different depths and softnesses, or whether it's really deep. Do you know what I mean? So there's so many layers of learning, but I think it's a very, very, very hard industry to get into now.
Yeah, especially with everyone doing it, as you said.
Yes, I mean, I think I'm a total different thing. I mean, it's like I I earn money from TV and media and all these other things. I'm filming now as well. So I mean, I wrote my own TV show that I'm kind of working on now. So it's like I make money and do things that I'm established. Um, so I don't see myself as like a tattooist or in that tattoo industry.
Yeah.
I'm something else. Like I'm not like any of the tattooists really with what I do. Where the rest of the tattoo world, they're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And I'm working with one at the minute who messaged me, and he said like, I'm in a rut. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like I'm not getting enough work in. Like why am I not getting work? And he's quite a good tattooist as well, but he's like, it's just not getting the work. And it's like, let's have a look where you are. Like you've got 15 shops in the village where you are. You've probably got 25 people working there. It's going to be down to who does it the cheapest.
Yeah.
Who's going to do the most work. So that totally discredits your art when you've got to give it away for next to nothing to a bunch of donuts that just want to cheap tattoo. Do you know what I mean? So it's very hard. Like it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves.
Yeah.
I just don't see it evolving for the good.
No.
I think it's going to go back underground. I think a lot of people, you got to think these people have got overheads of 15, 20 grand a year on shops. And then the last year they've been doing it in their house with no overheads on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so much easier for people to just drop the shops off and do it dodgily at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of the dodgy ones, they're going to be driven back to do it at their homes or in the sheds or garages or wherever.
Yeah.
And then that makes a whole new problem. Then the good tattooists that are trying to do it properly in the shop, how do they keep their overheads when the guy down the road is doing it in his garage or something?
Yeah. As you said, hopefully that law you put in place can drive some of them out.
But they can only do one at a time. It's like saying at the minute that law's useless with COVID. They're not allowed to go around anyway.
Yeah, I guess the problem is all those trainees as well. They're probably just going to think, "Fuck it, let's just go for it and just start tattooing people when they're not ready."
This is why people don't want apprentices. Because apprentice will go there for a year, 2 years, learn everything, and then set up a shop down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like so. There's no really incentive for anyone to train anyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is a very, very hard industry. I think people go into it fuzzy-eyed, thinking it's great, and I make it look glamorous. I understand that, but I also try to tell people it's not. Do you know what I mean? Although it might look glamorous, it's not. And I've worked my arse off since I was 13. I'm 42 now. Do you know what I mean? So since I was 13, I've been devoted and dedicated to what I do. So, but people think that overnight it's just cool and it's a big thing, and it's just not.
Yeah. Going back to money, as you said. Can you tell us about the famous lion tattoo you did for Ed Sheeran, which is valued at 300k? Why did Ed want it, and why did you turn down the money?
Right. So basically, he kept getting on about wanting 3 lions on his chest because he sold out Wembley Arena, and then I kind of drew some kind of rough ideas, and then I went down. We was going down there. My missus' birthday that weekend, so I said I'll come down for a birthday and we'll spend down the weekend with you with the kids. So we went down to his big mansion. It's always in the paper. We went down to there, and then when I got there quite late, and then we had a bit of a chat. And he says, "I've changed my mind. I just want the one. We're gonna have one lion, one big one." So I kind of drew some of that night, put it all together, because he's a big fan of Africa. He likes Kenya and all that kind of art. And in his house is this big, massive painting that someone painted for him. And it's done like an African painting, like that kind of blob paint and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of drew this lion on the center of his chest as a big African painted lion kind of effect. He got up in the morning, seen it, liked it. So then I kind of did a stencil for it, then we put it on. We did about 4 hours of it, and he took a photo, which is the famous photo of him with that over his head. So he did that, and he says, "Don't put any pictures out. Don't tell anyone. I'm doing cover of Rolling Stone in a couple of months, so we'll get it finished for then, and I'm going to rip my shirt open, and that will be on show." I mean, yeah, it's fine. So then I went home the day after, I think it was, and then my phone just started going ping, 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 and I thought, what's going on? Then newspapers were phoning me. So I picked it up, and it says, "Can you tell us about the new tattoo you've done on him?" I said, "I'm not allowed. Can't really say much about it at the minute. Wait until it comes out." It says, "We've already seen the lion that you've done. I'm like, well, have you seen this? And like Ed's got it on his Instagram. So all right, phone me back in an hour. And then they hung up and checked. And I texted him saying, what the fuck have you done? Oh, fuck, sorry. I just really like it. So I thought I'd put a picture up. Yeah. And then that was it. It was out. So, and then it just went fucking mental. It's like, it never got released. The finished photo of it, because it was about 14, 15 hours he had on it. And it never really got released. It was just that one photo 3-4 hours into it. And it just made such a like, there was people there was like 500,000 people was it's shit. And then there was 500,000 people, it's amazing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just kind of took, and then there was celebrities that was in newspapers slagging it off. And then there was people on social media that were slagging it off. Then there was people then loving it. You know what I mean? It just become, I can remember like remember Keane, the band Keane.
Yeah.
The singer, he put something about it, saying, "Oh my god, this is awful." And I messaged him. I can't remember what he said now. He said something, and I messaged him back, and I'm saying, "And what is it? Why does it really matter to you? Like what it is?" I mean,
yeah.
He put, "Oh, I just thought my view was relevant," and I put, "Mate, your view that was last relevant about 4 years ago when your career died." Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then obviously the newspaper picked up on that as well. And he just turned into this big thing. Everyone was going wild about it. But I'd already tattooed all his arms by this point. To me, it wasn't really a big deal. It was just another tattoo that he had. It was just bigger than the ones I had done. Do you know what I mean? Then it was on the Helen DeGeneres show. They did an hour piece about it. Then it was on some show in Australia. And it was fucking everywhere. And it was like, I'd get in a taxi in London and they'd do your tattoos. And like, you seen that new one Ed Sheeran's had on his chest? It was like, or you'd sit on the train. I was on the train with my family. And there was a family opposite reading a magazine. It was in this magazine. And they was going, oh, this tattoo that Ed Sheeran's got. Look. And the dad was saying, yeah, the lad who does it is £5,000 a day and he's booked up for 3 years. And it was like, and I was sat dead opposite him. All bollocks that he was saying. And I was just sat there, and my missus kept like staring at me, like with a smirk on her face. And I was like, shh, just don't say anything. It was quite interesting, like, but it was everywhere, and it just didn't go away. Like 4 months down the line, and it was still going. Like everyone just, I mean, there was that many magazine interviews I had to do, or video calls, or things like that. But then, like, once that had happened, because I did a big exclusive with a paper on it, about a story about it. And then 2 days after that story went out, he had to cover it for a film he was in. Yeah. So then he posed for a photo like that saying, oh, it was only a joke. It's not real. You know what I mean? So then it was all in the papers that I was a lying twat. Lying about this tattoo.
You can't win.
You know what I mean? So then he kind of kicked it again. Then about 3 days went past. And then he took another photo where he was wiping the makeup off. And he said, oh, only joking. I had to cover it for something I was doing. So then it was in again. Like it turned into this big, massive fucking thing that shouldn't really have happened. It was just another tattoo on him. So yeah, so it created a lot of hype. And the paper said that it was the most famous tattoo in the world ever to be done. It had more newspaper coverage worldwide than any tattoo has ever had. And more people knew of that tattoo than any tattoo ever.
That's madness.
Which was really mad. And then say it's probably about 2 years later, I got approached by somebody who he kind of helped to start G-Star and Miss 60, is it, or Miss some clothing label. Anyway.
Yeah.
He basically launched all these brands, and he sent me this big email saying, "I'm the face of this brand, that brand, that brand. I did this, that, and the other." And he said, "I want to buy the rights to the lion artwork. I'll give you 300k for it." Do you know what I mean? So, and then I'd speak to Ed's management and just say, "Look, well, how do we stand on this? Because obviously it's my artwork. Legally, it's mine. Anyway, I knew all this, obviously, because I've been through this with the X Factor one. That, do you know what I mean? So I knew what the legal standing was, but obviously we're friends, so we kind of like did it nicely. And he just says, "Yeah, it's yours. You do what you want with it." It's like we've got no right over that. But then when I approached it a little bit more and we wanted to talk about it, he was very vague on what he wanted to use it for. Yeah. And I just kept thinking to myself, it's like, it could end up on like cups in Poundland. Do you know what I mean? Or some tacky thing, where they'll mass produce billions of them. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone in the world would like something with that Ed Sheeran line on it. Do you know what I mean? Like a logo on it, but it was just, I just had a bad vibe from it, and I've kind of learned to go with my gut feeling on things.
Yeah.
And then, so I didn't do it, and then I ended up designing a ketchup bottle for Heinz with all Ed's stuff on it. It was like they were selling it like $2,000. They made 150 of them, and they were selling it like $2,000 a pop to all the super rich and stuff. And then the V&A Museum said they wanted it in there, so it ended up getting put in the V&A. So there's one in the V&A now.
That's amazing.
And that's going to be there for thousands of years now. They took the ketchup out of it and flushed it all out. It's going to be in there for thousands of years, and then they kind of set it all up and put it in there. And when I was talking to V&A, they asked to put the line in there, because basically the original artwork that I drew, Ed signed it, I signed it, and then it's been framed. And that's what the guy wanted to buy, was that, because then he would own the rights to that artwork and he would own the actual artwork. So it's the rights to the artwork that's worth that, because then you can merchandise it and do what you want with it. The actual artwork, I don't really know what the artwork would be worth. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be worth a fair bit, I'd have thought.
Yeah, 100%. Especially if it's one of the most famous tattoos of all time.
Yeah. So, but the original artwork was drawn in his house that night before, and it was signed by him and me, and then it was just put in a frame.
And you've never spoken to Ed again.
So we've got that, but I think it probably will go in the V&A. I'd probably like it to go there.
Yeah, 100%. As you said, it's there forever then, isn't it?
Well, for me, it's like I said, my school said I'd never amount to anything.
Exactly.
And I'm in history now. Do you know what I mean? I'm in a museum, part of history.
Exactly.
My name's down in black and white. So if I can then do that again and have someone else there as well, do you know what I mean?
Why not?
For me, I like to do that, not to say fuck you to the school, but to show kids that I was wrote off.
Yeah,
and
you can do anything.
Achieved to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like
exactly.
The V&A is supposed to be the biggest museum in London, isn't it? Like the art museum. So I didn't even know about the place, until I used to go to the Natural History Museum and all that all the time with the kids. I didn't realise the V&A was dead opposite it. Never ever even looked at it before. But then when the ketchup bottle come out, I got asked to be there for the opening of it and stuff. So I went down with the kids, and the kids got a VIP tour of everything.
Amazing.
And all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's an amazing museum. It's a really nice museum.
Yeah, definitely go down there and check it out. Right, we got one more question before we say goodbye. Can you tell us a bit more about your new project, Common, which you posted teasers about, and what is it about? Where can we find it? When?
It's kind of evolving, really. So when we go back to, like I said, when I wrote my first book, everyone was wanting to know about the teenage years, the stuff that I didn't really put in the book, and I'd tell them stuff that I was a loser at school. Like, girls didn't pay any attention to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like I was just this fuck up kid that was covered in dodgy tattoos that didn't really fit in. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was in thick class. No one really gave me the time of day. So then I started to write this thing, and then Paddy Considine said, "This will make a great sitcom." He kind of taught me how to write a sitcom and how to put it all together. So I kind of went away, did that. We got close. Channel 4 was interested in it at one point with someone I was working with. It kind of faded out, and then I saw someone at ITV that was going to put it forward, and that kind of faded out. And it just kind of been shelved for a bit. And then I kind of wrote it. It was all finished, kind of put together, edited, and all that kind of stuff. So then I thought, last year I started to work at it a little bit more and do some more things. And I thought it's about me being a teenager was what I wrote. So it's me being from the age of 13. It goes through to about 18, 19 on the first part. Just being a loser, having a wank till it was catalogue. It was seeing a naked girl. I used to get up to. Trying to finger a girl for the first time, doing it wrong, and just all the shit I used to get up to. And then, like, the lads I used to hang around with, I used to get stoned. There was this lad that I used to tell him do things, and I made him eat a raw pucker pie with all jelly on top, and so on. I was eating and stuff. And then, like, stealing cars and all that kind of just really common shit. And I called it Common. But everybody who read it related to it and liked it. Do you know what I mean? And got something from it. So it just become that. And then last year I thought, with everything that I'd done, and I'm a nobody that's come from nothing, and I've kind of turned it around and done well. So it's like I said, I think I could take a bunch of people that are nobodies that have gone through shit,
Yeah.
and be able to turn them around with a bit of help and show them a better way of life. So I brought like experienced actors and things like that in. So basically, I put something in the local paper saying, if anyone's involved with drugs, crime, been through abuse, anything like that, and you want to turn your life around, you'd like to get into acting and stuff like that, come down to this meeting at this charity place where they're giving this big building, a place called Bank House in Swadlincote. They give me their building. And I said, come down here and we'll kind of do something with you. So I got one of the lads out of This Is England to come down and kind of show them how to act and how to put things together. Spent a few weeks doing that. And then I've cherry picked a few of them. So we kind of, the idea was that we do the common thing where they film about me in the 90s, this, that, and the other. Then COVID come in and lockdown happened. So it made things much harder. But there was 4 or 5 lads. They were just chavvy lads that just really stood out to me, that I really warmed to, that I really liked. And they didn't really fit in with this because they've got the chavvy tattoos and stuff from modern day, where this was being filmed as in the 90s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we had, on this last meet that we had, I says, I'm going to get 4 chairs. And what I want you to do is I want you to pretend you're like drug dealers in a flat and you just stones and you listen to them. I'm going to get random people that come in, who buy and sell drugs off. And I says, each one will be like half an hour show, and I want you to just have random chats about shit. So the first one, you can order a takeaway. So they did it, and there was loads of people in the room, and everyone was laughing at them, and it was completely natural. All I did was instigate a few things, tweak a few things, but what they were saying was them. It was their natural things, like role play and stuff. And they was all having an argument about the one wanted kebab, one wanted pizza, one wanted Domino's, one wanted pizza. And it was like just this argument, debate where they're all bitching each other. And they're proper divvy, chavvy lads. I mean, they sound it.
Yeah.
And then one says, well, I just want sausage. And he went, I always knew you was a batty boy. And I always knew you was a batty boy. And everyone was laughing at him again. And it was like, then they started calling him sausage. And he got really arsy about it. And I thought, it's fucking brilliant. It's gold. So I went away from it and I kind of tweaked and did stuff. And I thought, I just want to write a show just about 4 lads sat on a sofa that are dealers about their life and the people that are going to come in. Like we've got the scummy mum who doesn't look after a kid very well and spends the money on weed. And do you know what I mean? It's like she's got her own little character. She's got the big brown makeup lying around her face. There's a lad who's a shoplifter. He brings around like the meat is nicked and the cans of links and the toothpaste. Do you know what I mean? It's just all these kind of character roles that we had, and it's all kind of it's natural but instigated natural. Like I kind of give them tweaks and stuff, but it's all they naturally then do their thing. And we filmed the pilot 2 weeks ago, and it was really good because I said let's do the pizza thing again, like the takeaway one. So let's roughly do that. And they was a bit nervous because it was like proper cameramen and cameras on them and everything, and they kind of did it. But then they started talking about, because one of them had a knife, and I says, you just stand there with your knife, like taking pictures, like selfies, trying to look cool. And they all kind of turned on him and was saying, man, what you doing with that knife, man? You're a fucking idiot. And it turned into something that I didn't expect. It was like, it was 4 thick chavvy lads that every thick chavvy lad who watches it would relate to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, they had this powerful message about being a loser carrying a knife. Like a wimp carries a knife. Like a real man fights with his fist, not with a knife. Do you know what I mean? And it had this message, like, which I didn't really mean, but because I've life coached pretty much all these lads now. I've done a lot with them, and I've taught them about knives and all this kind of shit. So a lot of what I've kind of said to them is kind of stuck, and it's in their heads. Do you know what I mean? And they kind of, it's brilliant. It's like the way to get through to kids with knives and guns and all this other crap. It's like they want someone to relate to, not someone in a suit or someone that's having an education. It's someone they relate to. And these bunch of lads that I've got, like one of them was stabbed 6 times last year.
Jesus.
And he wants to have a better life. He's got a son. He wants to turn his life around. Another one was a coke dealer. One was like selling weed and stuff. Every single one of them hangs on my every word and wants to be better. They want to do better. Do you know what I mean? It's like all I'm doing is opening a doorway to give them a better quality of life. Do you know what I mean by this? So what I want to do with these, like, it's basically with TV. TV like to use their ideas and give you a little bit, tiniest little bit of money out of it, and pocket all the money themselves, and you do things how they want with their ideas. And 9 times out of 10, it's a load of bollocks, a load of shit. So I've said, I've got something great here that we can put together really well. So I'm basically going to do it as a YouTube channel myself.
Oh, amazing.
So we've got like a proper film crew. We're going to make the shows properly. I'm going to get the big media companies that I know, like the big PR companies in London. I'll get them to do all the PR in it. I'll get celebs to tweet about it and stuff. But it's proper edited together. There's a band called the Dead Time Philharmonic. You should look them up. They're a really good band. I did a music video for one of them. They do really gritty, common life kind of music. They get really to the core. They're doing the soundtrack for it. He's doing little riffs, like music riffs into it and stuff like that. So it's just like 4 lads with a great bond. These 4 lads didn't know each other and then now become friends. And they're on Snapchats together. They talk all the time. They've got this really good bond together. And all I'm doing is this, like, being a puppet master, putting these scenes together and creating these things. But it's great. Like, it's like I said, it's took a different level. To me, I wanted to do this Jeremy Kyle style, look at these common folk doing these really dodgy things, like really cringe worthy, funny entertainment kind of view of common people. And they kind of naturally put that message about anti-knives into it.
Yeah.
And I'm in talks at the minute with the BBC to film a documentary about knife crime. As they were doing this, I thought, I've got to show this to the BBC. Like what they've done, the way they've done it, the way they said it, is that I think this thing is called Common. These lads, I think, as people watch it in a weekly thing and fall in love with the characters and you learn about the character, I think little stories like that, like being like painting knife crime as a negative, is what's needed.
Yeah.
To kids today. These people could be role models to these kids that watch it. If we can get it, if we can build it up and get these kind of really well known by doing the show, I think it could have a big impact. It's like grime music for me is the worst thing ever. Like, it's like Stormzy did a song with Ed Sheeran, and his opening line was, "It feels good to be back on the streets of London with a gun in my hand." Do you know what I mean? Well, you don't say the word gun, he says the name of the gun, but it's kids know what it is. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then 3 weeks later, he was in a junior school with a role model to kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, grime music is the worst thing out there for kids. And I think, but that kind of chavvy, scummy look is what they relate to. So I'm taking this scummy look, chavvy lads, but then putting a positive message in there, not a negative one.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. So yeah, it's going to be on YouTube, did you say? We're
going to do it as a YouTube channel, yeah. So at the minute, we're just trying, we were having issues with the cameraman. So we had a good cameraman, and then he's been ill, so he's now had to pull out. So now I've got to like sort the cameraman out again. So it's like everything's ready to go. Like, we filmed 2, we just got to tweak it, play with it a little bit. Hopefully, like very, very soon, we'll have it all done. But we'll get it on there.
Excellent. We can't wait. We'll definitely share it. Yeah, we'll share it on our channel. But yeah, Kev, thank you so much for spending the night with us. It's been absolutely fantastic. Do you want to push any social media before you go?
No, go on, man, if you want to. You know what my social media is. That's how interested I am in social media. I think it's Kevin Paul Tattoo, but
yeah, we'll have it in the bottom corner either way, so everyone can go and follow. He's on everything. You can follow me at Faz's Thoughts. That's FAZZAS Thoughts. And Mr. D's
at PWCDs, and check us out at It's Our House Pod everywhere, basically.
Yeah. So thank you again so much, Kev. It's been an absolute blast. Cheers, my friend.